How my sister asked to crash at my place, just for a few days, then moved in, lawyered up, and tried to take half my apartment. Here's how I got my home back. I've been lurking on this sub for years, reading stories that made my blood boil on behalf of strangers. Never thought I'd be writing one of my own. But here I am, sitting in my apartment, on the first quiet night I've had in 7 months, and I think I need to get this out. All of it. From the beginning. I'm 27. Male. I work in IT support for a mid-sized logistics company. It's not glamorous, but it pays well and I'm good at it. I bought my apartment when I was 25, a small 2-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood, $131,000. I saved for that apartment since I was 17 years old. 2 jobs through college. No debt at graduation. Every dollar tracked, every sacrifice deliberate. That apartment was the first thing in my life that was truly, entirely mine. And I need you to understand what that means, because it only makes sense if you know my family. I'm the younger of 2. My sister is 34. 7 years older. She was the firstborn, the planned one, the one my parents held up like a trophy at every family gathering. She was the responsible one, the smart one, the one who has her life together. I was the afterthought. Not neglected, not exactly. Just unnecessary. My parents had already gotten parenthood right the first time, at least in their minds. I was the bonus kid who didn't need much. He's fine, my mom used to say when relatives asked about me. He doesn't need much attention. He's independent. I was 7 when she said that. What 7-year-old is independent by choice? But here's the thing, I took that invisibility and I used it. While my sister got the praise, the financial support, the big wedding my parents mostly paid for, I got something they never intended to give me, freedom from their expectations. Nobody was watching me, so nobody was controlling me. I worked, I saved, I planned. And at 25, I closed on my apartment. My parents' reaction? That's nice. Same energy they'd give if I told them I'd found a decent parking spot. When my sister got married at 26, there were tears of joy, toasts, a party that lasted until 2 in the morning. When I bought my first home with money I earned myself, I got, "That's nice," and a subject change back to my sister's kitchen renovation. I made peace with it. Or I thought I had. My sister's marriage lasted 8 years. From the outside, it looked perfect, the kind of life you'd put on a holiday card. Big house, good neighborhood, dinner parties. But the cracks were there if you knew where to look. Her husband was controlling with money. She was controlling with everything else. 2 control freaks in a pressure cooker. It was only a matter of time. When her husband filed for divorce, my sister was blindsided. Genuinely. She thought she was running that marriage. Turns out she was running on a treadmill, lots of motion, going nowhere. The divorce was messy. She got some money in the settlement but no property. The house had been in her husband's name from before the marriage, and the prenup she'd signed without reading carefully enough made sure it stayed that way. So she moved back in with my parents. Temporarily. But my parents' apartment is small, a cramped 2-bedroom they've lived in for 20 years. It was functional for 2 people. Add a 34-year-old woman used to a 4-bedroom house, and suddenly the walls start closing in. Or so I was told. She called me on a Tuesday evening. I remember because I'd just gotten home from a double shift and I was standing in my kitchen heating up leftover pasta. Her voice was raw, thick with crying. "I have nowhere to go," she said. "Can I stay at your place? Just for a week. Maybe less. I just need to breathe. I need to figure out my next step. I can't think at Mom and Dad's, they're suffocating me." I stood there with a fork in one hand and my phone in the other, and I thought about all the years she'd barely acknowledged my existence. All the birthdays she forgot. All the family dinners where she talked over me. And then I thought about the fact that she was my sister, and she was hurting, and I had a spare bedroom that was just sitting there collecting dust. "Okay," I said. 1 week. Maybe 2 if you need it. But you need to be actively looking for a place." "Of course," she said. "Thank you. I mean it. Thank you." She showed up the next day with 2 suitcases and red eyes. I gave her the spare bedroom, made her tea, told her to take her time settling in. I meant settling in for a week. I should have known. I really should have known. Update 1. The slow invasion, weeks 1 to 8. The first week was fine. Better than fine, actually. She was quiet. Grateful. She kept to herself, cleaned up after herself, bought groceries without being asked. Said, "Thank you." So often it started to feel like punctuation. I remember thinking maybe this could be good for us. Maybe we'd actually bond for the first time since I was old enough to realize we never had. Week 2, she started making the room her own. Hung curtains she'd bought at a home goods store. Put up a small shelf for her books. I noticed but didn't say anything. She was going through a hard time. A little nesting was normal. Human, even. I'd have done the same thing. By month 1, the few things had become a full bedroom set. A dresser appeared. Then a mirror. A nightstand. A rug that was nicer than anything I owned. I mentioned apartment hunting one evening while we were eating dinner, casually, the way you'd mention the weather. "I'm looking," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Nothing in my budget yet. Maybe next month." I let it slide. One more month. She was my sister. Month 2 is when I should have drawn the line. I came home to find a stack of mail on the counter addressed to her, at my address. Bank statements. A credit card offer. A magazine subscription. She'd changed her mailing address to my apartment without telling me. "It's just easier for now," she said when I brought it up. She had that voice, the one that made everything sound so reasonable you felt crazy for questioning it. "My old address forwards to the ex's house. I don't want him seeing my mail." It sounded logical. It felt wrong. But I didn't push. That was my mistake. One of many. Month 3 is when I lost my living room. I came home from a late shift to find my TV moved to a different wall, my couch cushions replaced with hers, some velvet things with tassels I'd never have chosen, and framed photos of her on my walls. Her at the beach. Her at a friend's wedding. Her and our parents at Christmas. Not a single photo included me. "Just making it more homey," she said, gesturing around like she'd done me a favor. "You didn't even have decorations. It looked like a college dorm in here." "It looked like my home," I said. She cried. Instantly. Like a faucet turning on. "I'm just trying to feel at home somewhere. My life fell apart. My husband took everything. Can't I have this one thing? One little thing?" I backed off. I always backed off when she cried. Everyone did. That was the system, and she knew how to work it. Update 2. The occupation, months 4 to 6. Month 4 is when her friends started showing up. I came home from a late shift on a Wednesday to find 6 women I'd never met sitting in my living room, drinking wine and discussing a book I'd never heard of. Book club. In my apartment. That I was not informed about, much less invited to join. "It's just friends," my sister said, like I was being unreasonable for looking confused in my own doorway. "You were at work anyway. It's not like we were in your way. They were sitting on my furniture. In my home. Without my knowledge. But sure, not in my way." The book club became a weekly thing. Then Friday wine nights started. Then Sunday brunches. My apartment became her social hub. Her friends started greeting me with a familiarity I hadn't earned and didn't want, like I was the quirky roommate in a sitcom they were all watching. Month 5, I sat her down for a serious conversation. Told her it had been 5 months. Told her she needed to find a place. She pulled out her phone and showed me apartment listings she'd been looking at. Every single one had a reason it wouldn't work. Too expensive. Bad neighborhood. Too small. No laundry. Bad reviews. Too far from her friends. I watched her scroll and I realized something cold. She wasn't rejecting these apartments because they were wrong. She was collecting reasons not to leave. She hadn't applied to a single one. Not one. She had no intention of leaving. In her mind, this was already settled. She was staying. This was her home now. Then came month 6. The dinner. The bomb. My parents came over on a Saturday. My sister cooked, in my kitchen, using my pots, like she was hosting them in her home. I sat at my own table feeling like a guest. After dessert, my mom set down her fork with that look she gets when she's rehearsed something. "Your sister has been through so much," she started. "This apartment has been good for her. She's healing here. She's finding herself again." My dad nodded. "We think it makes sense to make this official. Put her name on the apartment. 50-50. Brother and sister, sharing a home. It's beautiful, really." My sister sat there, hands folded, nodding along like she was hearing this for the first time. But her face was calm. Too calm. The face of someone who already knows the answer because she helped write the question. I looked at all 3 of them. My parents, who'd always chosen her. My sister, who'd always let them. And me, the afterthought, the invisible one, the one whose home was apparently communal property because the golden child needed it. "You planned this," I said. "I didn't plan anything," my sister said. "I just needed help." You changed your mailing address in month 2. You moved your furniture in month 1. You started hosting book club before month 4. You weren't staying temporarily. You were moving in and hoping I wouldn't notice until it was too late. She started crying. Right on cue. The weapon that had never failed her. Why are you attacking me? I lost everything in the divorce. My home, my husband, my life. And now my own brother won't share a 2-bedroom apartment. My dad's voice went hard. She's your sister. She has nowhere to go. She has your apartment, I said. Where she lived before coming here. Our place is too small, my mom said. She needs space. She's an adult woman. And I'm an adult man whose apartment is being stolen by his sister with his parents' help. I looked at my sister. How is this different from what your ex did? You lost control of someone else's property, and now you're trying to take control of mine. The room went silent. My sister's crying stopped, just for a second, just long enough for me to see something behind the tears. Not hurt. Calculation. Update 3. The legal battlefield. The next morning, I told her plainly, I need you to move out. I'll give you 30 days. That's more than generous. She looked at me and, I'll never forget this, she smiled. Slightly. Just at the corners. Like a card player showing their hand. I've been here 6 months, she said. I have tenant rights. You can't just kick me out. You'd need a formal eviction. That takes months. And while it processes, I live here. She paused. My lawyer already confirmed. My stomach dropped. Not because of the legal threat, because of what it meant. She had already talked to a lawyer. Not after I asked her to leave. Before. She'd consulted legal counsel about how to stay in my apartment permanently, while still telling me she was looking for places. She asked for 1 week. 1 week became 1 month, became 6 months, became a legal battle to reclaim my own home. And somehow I'm the villain for wanting my apartment back. I contacted my own attorney the next day. He confirmed the basics. In our jurisdiction, someone who's lived in a residence for that long has established residency, even without a lease. Formal eviction process required. Could take 3 to 6 months depending on how aggressively she fought it. During that time, I couldn't change the locks, couldn't remove her belongings, couldn't shut off utilities to her room. Anything that constituted self-help eviction could land me in legal trouble. I was trapped. In my own home. By my own sister. And once she knew I couldn't force her out, her behavior shifted. The mask came off. She started telling me which shelves in the fridge were hers. Complained when my music was too loud, at 7 p.m. on a Saturday. Asked me to coordinate shower times so she could have hot water first in the mornings. Her friends came over more frequently. She told one of them, within my earshot, deliberately, once my name is on the deed, I'll probably redo the bathroom. It's so outdated. In my apartment. That I bought. That she contributed nothing to. She changed her mailing address month 2. Brought a lawyer into it by month 5. This wasn't a sister in crisis. This was a hostile takeover with tears as camouflage. Update 4. Building the case. I went quiet. Stopped arguing. Stopped reacting. And I started documenting. I installed cameras in the common areas, living room, kitchen, hallway. Legal in my state as long as you provide notice, which I did. In writing. She signed the notice without reading it, probably thought it was a bluff. I kept a log. Every conversation. Every demand she made. Every modification she'd made to the apartment without my permission. Every time her friends showed up uninvited. I time-stamped everything. I saved texts. One to our mom, he can't kick me out. I talked to a lawyer before he even brought it up. I'm protected. Another to a friend, the apartment is basically mine at this point. He just hasn't accepted it yet. I recorded her, in common areas, with notice, completely legal, telling her book club friends that she was getting her name on the deed soon, and that her little brother is finally learning to share. My attorney reviewed everything. His exact words, this isn't a family dispute. This is a calculated occupation. And now we can prove it. I filed for formal eviction. My sister countered through her attorney, claiming she was a tenant, entitled to full protections under the residential tenancy statute. My attorney argued she was never a tenant, no lease existed, no rent was ever paid, no agreement was ever made beyond a temporary stay. She was a guest whose welcome had expired. A licensee whose license I had revoked. The judge reviewed the evidence. And this is where my sister's own strategy destroyed her. Her texts showed she'd consulted a lawyer about staying before I asked her to leave. Her messages to friends showed she viewed the apartment as hers and was planning renovations. The recordings showed her openly discussing taking ownership. The documentation showed a systematic pattern: address change, furniture, social events, legal consultation, that was consistent with a planned occupation, not an emergency stay. The judge saw through it in minutes. The texts. The recordings. The lawyer she consulted before I even asked her to leave. Her spontaneous crisis had a legal strategy before it had a moving date. That's not a sister who needed help. That's someone who saw an opening and drove through it. Ruling, she was a licensee whose license had been revoked, not a tenant. The eviction timeline was shortened significantly. She had 14 days to vacate. Update 5. The fallout. When my sister received the official notice with the court stamp date, she called our parents screaming. I know because my mom called me 30 seconds later. He's evicting me. I could hear my sister wailing in the background. His own sister. Like I'm a stranger. My mom's voice was ice. How could you take your sister to court? What will people think? My dad got on the line. We didn't raise you to be this cold. I took a breath. You raised me to be invisible while she got everything. The wedding. The support. The attention. And now she wants the one thing I built for myself, and you're helping her take it. I'm not cold. I'm done. Mom said, "What will people think?" when I filed eviction. She didn't ask what I thought when my sister was stealing my home. My reputation mattered when it affected them. My apartment didn't matter because it only affected me. The court date itself was surreal. My sister showed up in a modest dress, minimal makeup, her best victim outfit, carefully curated. She cried for the judge. Talked about her traumatic divorce, her nowhere to go, her cruel brother who chose property over family. My attorney presented the evidence without drama. Just facts. Texts. Recordings. Timeline. The judge had already reviewed most of it. He asked my sister one question. Did you consult an attorney about your residency rights before or after your brother asked you to leave? She hesitated. Her attorney whispered something. She said, before. But only because I was scared. The judge nodded. He didn't believe her. Nobody in that courtroom believed her. 14 days. Court ordered. Sheriff supervised move out if necessary. And it was necessary. On moving day, a sheriff's deputy stood in the hallway while my sister packed. She took her time, making every box a performance. Crying. Calling friends to witness her being thrown out by her own brother. 3 of them showed up with their phones out, recording like they were documenting a human rights violation. My parents came too. Not to help me. To glare at me. To stand in my doorway and radiate disappointment. My mom supervised the packing of my sister's bedroom like she was overseeing a funeral. As the last box went out, my mom leaned in close. I hope you're proud of yourself, she whispered. I looked at her. Thought about 17 years of being invisible. Thought about the apartment I bought alone, celebrated alone, almost lost because my family saw it as communal property for their favorite child. I am actually, I whispered back. For the first time in years. My sister moved back in with my parents. Their small apartment, the one that was too cramped, too small, too humiliating for the successful daughter, suddenly had room when the alternative was the street. Amazing how square footage changes when entitlement meets a court order. Her divorce lawyer taught her how to lose a house. My eviction taught her she can't just take another one. Apparently, she only learns property law when she's on the losing side. She told everyone who'd listen that I evicted her. Didn't mention the 6 months of occupation. Didn't mention the strategic planning, the lawyer consultations, the attempted takeover. In her version, she was a homeless divorcee whose heartless brother chose a piece of real estate over family. Some relatives believe her. Some know the truth. I shared the evidence when I got tired of being called cruel by people who'd only heard one side. The family is split. My parents speak to me in single sentences now. My sister doesn't speak to me at all. Broken heart, a bitter victory. It's been 6 months since the eviction. I'm sitting in my apartment right now, writing this. It's late. The building is quiet. My building. I changed the locks the day she left. Repainted the spare bedroom the following weekend, a clean, even white that covers everything. Took down the curtains she hung, removed the shelf, donated the rug she left behind. There is no trace of her in that room now. If you walked in, you'd never know someone spent 6 months trying to claim it as their own. I put my TV back where it belonged. Put my cushions back on my couch. Took her photos off my walls. The living room looks like mine again. Is mine again. The kitchen is mine. My groceries. My rules. My coffee mug in the spot I chose for it 3 years ago. I walk through each room some nights. Not out of paranoia, out of something I can't quite name. Reclamation, maybe. Reminding myself that these walls are mine. That I earned them. That nobody gets to take them from me just because we share blood. People ask me if I feel guilty. I don't. I feel sad. There's a difference. Guilt is for when you've done something wrong. Sadness is for when you've lost something you wished was real. People ask if I miss having family close. I don't miss what she brought, the strategy, the manipulation, the slow theft disguised as sisterhood. I miss what I thought family was supposed to be. The version where your sister asks for help and actually means it. The version where your parents see both their children as people worth protecting. That version never existed. Not with her. Not with them. Not for me. She rearranged my living room without asking. Put her photos on my walls. Had her friends over like she owned the place. Then told me to coordinate shower times. In my apartment. That I bought. That she contributed nothing to. And when I finally said enough, she cried. Because that's what always worked. Every door in her life opened to tears. Every authority figure, every family member, every situation, she cried, and the world bent. Not mine. Not anymore. She asked for a week and took 6 months. She came with 2 suitcases and left with a legal battle. She cried at every stage, when she arrived, when she stayed, when she took over, when she got caught. Tears were her master key, and for most of her life, every door opened. Not mine. Not anymore. My apartment is quiet now. The spare room is empty, freshly painted. You'd never know someone tried to steal it from me through patience and legal loopholes. But I know. I'll always know. Every time I walk past that room, I'll remember the sister who came for a week and stayed for a war. People ask if I miss having family close. I don't miss what she brought, the strategy, the manipulation, the slow theft disguised as sisterhood. I miss what I thought family was supposed to be. But that version never existed. Not with her. She saw my home and saw an opportunity. I saw my sister and saw family. We were both wrong about what we were looking at. I won't make that mistake again. The door is locked now. For good. Thanks for reading, if you made it this far. I don't know if I'm looking for advice or validation or just needed to say it all out loud to people who aren't involved. But it felt good to write. Almost as good as that first quiet night alone in my own apartment, when I sat on my couch, my cushions, my spot, and exhaled for what felt like the first time in half a year. If your family tells you that you owe them your home just because you share DNA, you don't. You never did. Your home is yours. Protect it.